So we got an air purifier going as well. If you need Wi-Fi, it's right there. Let me introduce Chief Ray Benitez from the he's an assistant district attorney in charge of the Vehicular Homicide Bureau. Captain Mike DeZane, he's in charge of our Criminal Investigation Division. I'll speak briefly, give a synopsis of what happened last week, and then I'll turn it over to Captain DeZane and then Chief Benitez, and then we'll take some questions. I understand there's a lot of concern in the community relating to the crash last Wednesday afternoon. For those who are not aware, Highland Avenue in that area is a very walkable neighborhood. There are a lot of people that also run up there, a lot of running enthusiasts go into that neighborhood. Council Rock Primary School is literally a couple blocks south of that location. I first want to reassure the community by stating this was not a traffic safety issue, but rather an intentional act by an individual perpetrator. The operator of the car, whom we arrested, sped down Highland Avenue in a westerly direction at about 60 miles an hour and intentionally struck the victim. We were very fortunate that several witnesses came forward to provide us crucial information in this case. I've always said that law enforcement can't do this alone. It's the police and the community to get together as partners that were able to solve this crime. The person who was struck and killed has been positively identified as Omar Coker. He was 34 years of age, and his last known address was at 1477 East Main Street in the city of Rochester. There was a minor issue about his middle name, which prolonged the positive identification by the Monroe County Medical Examiner's Office. As a police department, we need to make sure that we announce in the name of a decedent that we are correct when notifying the next of kin. So that's what took a little bit of time. Yesterday afternoon, we arrested Angela D. Griffin, age 24 years old. Her last known address was 478 Maplewood Avenue in the city of Rochester. She was charged with murder in the second degree, a Class A1 felony. She surrendered here at the police department shortly after 5 p.m., represented by her attorney, Mr. James Napier. Ms. Griffin was arraigned by Brighton Town Justice Karen Morris and remanded to the Monroe County Jail without bail due to her being a 3-time convicted felon. She's also been on parole for less than a year after a 2016 conviction for attempted robbery in the first degree out of Richmond County, New York. I want to take a minute just to personally thank Chief Benitez from the District Attorney's Office. He was with us right from the start of this investigation all the way up to where we are today. I also want to thank United States Marshal Charles Salina. He activated his Fugitives Task Force group on Saturday, and they were actively out in the community looking for Miss Griffin before she turned herself in. We were also assisted by the Rochester Police Department, who helped during search warrants, along with their major crime unit, who provided valuable assistance into the investigation. The New York State Police Collision Reconstruction Unit also assisted us with the vehicle aspect of the investigation. New York State Parole was here with us, stood by us while we were out looking for Miss Griffin, and the Monroe Crime Analysis Center, who worked late into the night providing us valuable intelligence. I'll turn it over to Captain Mike DeZane, who's in charge of our investigative division, who can provide more details into what we have.
Thank you, Chief. Good morning. In case you don't know, this incident occurred on February 10th, approximately 2:47 p.m., the intersection of Highland Avenue and Council Rock Avenue in our town. We received multiple 911 calls for a pedestrian struck at that time. Upon our arrival, it was determined that our pedestrian was deceased at the scene, and we had basically a hit-and-run motor vehicle accident at that point. We had multiple witnesses providing us additional details that led us to a vehicle involved on East Main Street in the city of Rochester. That vehicle was found within 50 minutes of the actual accident, which occurred at Highland and Council Rock. We worked late into the night. I will tell you, our investigators worked over 20 straight hours to come to a successful conclusion at that point, locating the vehicle and piecing together the investigation. As the Chief mentioned, the arrest took place yesterday, 5:15 p.m. Angelina Griffin was charged with murder in the second degree. Our investigative staff, who a lot of them are here in the room, I can't say enough about the way they work together as a team, along with Chief Benitez, who stood by our side throughout the whole investigation. Just to give you an idea of the extent of this investigation, we have over 450 hours invested. We have conducted 3 search warrants in the town of Brighton at residences and 2 in the city of Rochester. As Chief mentioned, our suspect in custody, Angelina Griffin, is currently on parole. She has a robbery conviction out of Richmond County, dated March of 17. She was convicted of attempted robbery in the first degree. At that time, she was sentenced to 42 months at the Albion Correctional Facility. She was released in April of 2020. Anybody have any questions for me?
Yeah, what is this an intentional act? When people will hear that, they'll think she's in her car at time instruction. What makes
Sure.
this intentional?
Our investigation at this point leads towards basically a retribution for a robbery that may have taken place just prior to the actual incident that occurred at Highland and Council Rock.
Who stole from who?
The investigation right now suggests that our decedent somehow arrived at these apartments at the corner of East and Highland, known as the Country Club Apartments. There, an interaction took place with who we believe to be Angelina Griffin. A brief interaction took place, which at this point suggests a robbery. Our decedent left the scene walking or running down Highland Avenue, and our suspect, our defendant in this case, Angelina, left that apartment complex in a Mercedes-Benz at a high rate of speed, as the chief mentioned, and struck our decedent while he was walking on the shoulder of Highland Avenue. At that time, upon our arrival, several $1,000s was spread across Highland Avenue. Our decedent was in possession of a weapon at that point, and we had heard direct statements from witnesses that led us to believe a robbery may have just occurred. That portion of the investigation is active at this time, but it's safe to say at this point some type of robbery occurred.